Good day. I am Michael Luis Sandro Polo Ayo from BSc 2D, and now I will be discussing about biodiversity and also about carbon cycle and some of the environmental pollutions. Okay, so let's start. Let me share my screen with you. Okay, so now we're going to talk about biodiversity. Okay, so as far as I can remember from my early high school days, so bio means life. When we say bio, it means we're talking about life. Okay, so biodiversity means it is the variety of life on Earth in all its forms and all its interactions. So kung medyo complex siya pakinggan. It's because it is. Kapag pinag-usapan natin yung biodiversity, sobrang malawak ito. We're not just talking about mga living things sa isang place lang. So sabi nga dito ni Professor David MacDonald, without biodiversity, there is no future for humanity. Okay? So sabi rin dito, the simplest meaning of biodiversity, it is the amount of variety of life on Earth. It is the number of different species of plants, animals, and microorganisms. It includes organisms from Earth's vastly different ecosystems. So kahit magkakaiba sila ng lugar, for example, meron sa desert, meron sa rainforest, meron sa ocean, meron sa grassland. Okay? So basta we're talking about biodiversity, it means all forms of life. Okay? So ngayon yung mga pag-uusapan natin ngayon, Kung kung kailan nag-start na nakita ang life dito sa Earth, okay? Gaano nakatagal ang Earth? Ano-ano bang mga klaseng organisms ang nakatungtong na or nabuhay dito sa mundo? Okay. So the importance of biodiversity. Okay. So biodiversity is important to human for many reasons. Biodiversity is also considered by many to have intrinsic value. That is, each species has a value, a right to exist. So kahit langgam man yan o kahit sobrang maliit na organism, it has the right to exist. There's a purpose kung bakit yan nandito. So in every aspect ng ating buhay, mahalaga ang biodiversity. For example, in economic, it provides humans with the raw materials for consumption and production. Ayan. So yung mga crops, syempre mga living things yan like plants and animals. For example, yung mga animals, it gives us everything that we need. Ngayon, madami na tayong mga sinusuot na galing sa balat ng mga hayop, right? In ecological life support, it provides functioning ecosystems that supplies oxygen. For example, yun nga, yung mga halaman, yung mga puno, right? It gives us everything we need. Yung ocean, yung clean air, ayan, yung pollination of plants and many ecosystem services. So marami pang iba na binibigay sila sa atin. So ganun din when it comes to recreation, for example, we're going to hike, camp, fishing, no? So syempre, di natin ma-enjoy ang fishing kung walang fishes dyan, di ba? Ganun din, our tourism industry, so it depends on biodiversity. So ngayon, marami tayong mga makikita na mga works, for example, in any parts ng Philippines, ginagawa nilang tourist spots. So nakakatulong ito sa kanila, okay? Cultural, so ito is maganda siyang karagdagang knowledge para sa atin. Kasi mga Australians, they have a strong connection and obligations to biodiversity arising from spiritual beliefs about animals and plants. So they all believe I mean siguro hindi lahat, pero yung mga Australians, they believe na of course every living things meron silang mga spirits. Okay? So they have these obligations na kailangan nilang pangalagaan ng bawat uri ng spirit or buhay dito sa mundo. So in scientific naman, it represents a wealth of systematic ecological data. So syempre, kung maganda yung biodiversity o yung distribution, for example, ng life sa Earth, that means that place ay very wealthy. Okay? So it also helps us to understand the natural world and its origins. Okay, in biodiversity, ito maganda siyang highlights, ano? Biodiversity highlights. So, rapid environmental changes typically causes mass extinctions. Okay? So, yung pagkabago, for example, climate change, pagbago ng mundo, ng temperature and everything, it causes what we call mass extinctions. Extinctions, meaning pagkawala. Okay? So sabi din dito, more than 99.9% of all species that ever lived on Earth, amounting to over 5 billion species, are estimated to be extinct. Okay. So 99.9% ng 5 billion species sa mundo are estimated to be extinct. So ano kaya mga dahilan nito? So mamaya pag-usapan natin yon. So susunod estimates on the number of Earth's current species range from 10 million to 14 million, of which about 1.2 have been documented and over 86% have had not yet been described. So meron pa tayong mga hindi na lalaman yung pangalan nila, scientific name nila, yung origin nila, ng mga species dito sa mundo. So ngayon, balikan natin yung pinakasimula. No? The age of Earth or yung tinatawag natin na early life forms. Okay? So kailan ba unang nakita ang buhay dito sa mundo? The age of the Earth is about 4.54 billion years. Ayan, so tandaan natin yan. Magandang trivia yan. Kapag tinanong kung ilang taon na ang mundo, so it's about. So ibig sabihin, hindi siya exactly. About 4.54 billion years. Okay, so sobrang matagal na pala, no? Next, the earliest undisputed evidence of life on Earth dates at least from 3.5 billion years ago. 3.5 billion years ago, may nakita ng buhay dito sa mundo. Okay? So we believe, of course, that our Heavenly Father, by His instruction, He commanded Jesus Christ, of course, to create the earth. Okay? Para sa atin. So ngayon, by means of science, there are microbial mat fossils found in 3.48 billion years old sandstone discovered in Western Australia. Okay, in Western Australia may nakita na po na fossil na ang edad nila nung pinag-aralan nila yung fossil na ito. So it is 3.48 billion years old. Okay? Next, archaeologists have discovered a 3.8 million year old hominin skull. So papakita po natin yan lahat mamaya. A previously unknown species of Stegosaurus. So isa siyang uri ng dinosaur have been found in the Middle Atlas Mountains of Morocco. So ito yung mga pictures nila, no? Ayan. So ito yung tinatawag natin ng mga fossil. Okay? Fossil, modern. Okay? So sabi dito, the significance of microbially induced sedimentary structures is that they not only demonstrate the presence of life. So kapag kasi may nakita tayong fossil, that is a representation that there is life there sa lugar na yun. But also the presence of whole microbial ecosystems that could coordinate with one another to respond to changes in the environment. Okay. So ito sila, no? So ito yung tinatawag natin na microbial ecosystem, okay? In which 3.48 billion years old na yung rocks na ito. Okay? And nakita ito sa Pilbara region. Okay. So itong mga fossils po na ito, kagaya nga ng binanggit dito, no? So it doesn't show only that there is life on Earth noong 3.48 years ago, pero ito din ay pinakita din ito na the whole microbial ecosystems. Okay, so sobrang malaki ang chance na hindi lang ito mismo yung nabubuhay ng time na yon. Ito naman po yung tinatawag natin na hominin skull. Okay, bungo ng mga kauna-unahang tao dito sa mundo. Discovered at site called Woranso Mile in Ethiopia. Okay, Ethiopia. Okay. So kung makikita natin, no, makikita natin na unti-unti pa lang nagfo-form yung kanyang skull. Kasi kung titignan natin yung buong ngayon ng tao, it's very parang modernized na, di ba? Kung makikita natin yung itsura dati, talagang makikita natin na based sa pag-aaral ng mga archaeologists o mga scientists, na nagkaroon talaga ng evolution ng mukha and ng katawan ng tao, di ba? So ito yung tinatawag na Stegosaurus, okay? 168 million years old. Ayan. So a few vertebrae on the upper arm bone of a previously unknown species of Stegosaurus have been found. So nakita po yung mga buto nito kasi nag-extinct siya. Syempre, and despite the lack of complete skeleton, scientists say that at 168 million years old, it's the oldest known Stegosaurus yet found. So it's the oldest. Okay? So ito yung, kumbaga 168 million years old, nakita yung buto nila. Ano? So nakita ito sa Middle Atlas Mountains. Ayan. So makikita natin yung lugar. Nasa gawing left siya ng Iraq and Lebanon. Ayan. And nasa gawing taas siya ng Algeria. Ayan. So dito nila nakita. No? Siguro nung naglalakad yung mga dinosaurs, nung naabutan sila ng extinction nila, dyan sa lugar na yan. Okay. So next, major events affecting biodiversity. Okay. Ano nga ba yung mga event sa Earth na nag-cause ng massive extinction or naka-apekto mismo sa tinatawag natin na biodiversity o sa lumalawakang buhay dito sa mundo? Meron tayong tinatawag na Cretaceous Paleogene extinction, and meron tayong tinatawag na Alvarez hypothesis. So ano nga ba ito? No? So itong dalawa na ito, it only proves that there's an asteroid or a meteor na talagang tumama dito sa Earth that causes the extinction of the dinosaurs. Okay? So, kamusta? Meron kayong pag-aaral patungkol dito, no? So, eto. Kung makikita natin, no, dito sa illustration, yung itsura kapag bumagsak yung asteroid or yung meteor. Okay? Then, sabi nga dito, ayan, yung Cretaceous Paleogene extinction event occurred 65 million years ago and has often attracted more attention than others because it resulted in the extinction of the non-avian dinosaurs. Pag sinabing non-avian dinosaurs, ibig sabihin sila yung mga dinosaurs na hindi ibon. Okay, na hindi ibon. So they are very different from birds. Okay? So sabi din dito, Alvarez hypothesis was bolstered by the discovery of the 180-kilometer. So ganun yung layo niya, no? Or converted to 112 miles, Chicxulub crater in the Gulf of the Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula in the early 1990s, which provide conclusive evidence that the KPG boundary clay represented debris from an asteroid impact. Okay. In short, nagpatunay siya na there was really an asteroid na tumama sa Earth that causes the massive extinction. Okay? Ayan. So, kung makikita natin after that, of course, the asteroid has the chemicals, and many other may iba pang mga elements. So napatunayan ito dahil sa lugar na pinangyarihan nito that they believe ni Alvarez, nakita sila ng mga uri or mga granite, which is makikita mo lang yan sa pinaka ilalim ng lupa. So makikita nila na nung tumama yung asteroid, lumabas yung ibang mga elements or uri ng bato na ito, which is nagpapatotoo na meron talagang asteroid na tumama sa land. Okay. Biodiversity hotspot. So ano nga ba ito, no? Biodiversity hotspot. So it is a region with a level of endemic species that have experienced great habitat loss. Okay? Pag sinabi natin biodiversity hotspot, ito yung mga lugar kung saan nakakaroon yung mga hayop na tinatawag na habitat loss o pagkawala ng kanilang mga tirahan. So, masasabi natin na yung isang lugar ay naka-experience ng habitat loss. Una, it must have at least 1,500 vascular plants as endemics, which is to say it must have a high percentage of plant, mga halaman, maraming mga halaman, life found nowhere else on the planet. Okay? A hotspot, in other words, is irreplaceable. Actually, irreplaceable talaga siya. No? Pero ngayon, gumagawa tayo ng paraan para ma-maintain o ma-retain itong mga hayop na ito or mga halaman. So it must have 30% or less of its original natural vegetation. Okay? In other words, it must be threatened. Okay? Pag sinabi natin threatened, ibig sabihin talagang nagdedelikado, no? So kung ang isang lugar ay very, very na nawawala na yung tirahan ng mga hayop or even tirahan ng mga halaman natin. So that simply means no na nagsasuffer na siya from what we call a habitat loss. Okay? So ngayon, ano nga bang importance ng biodiversity hotspot? So biodiversity underpins all life on Earth. Without species, there would be no air to breathe, no food to eat, no water to drink. Okay? The map of hotspots overlaps extraordinarily well with the map of natural places that most benefit people. Okay. So sa lugar kung saan sobrang nabe-benefit ng people, madalas nandyan yung biodiversity hotspot. Dahil syempre kapag nakita nila na yung mga halaman ay, for example, ang magagamit nila, mabibenta nila yung mga hayop, ganito, ganyan. So syempre, kukunin nila lahat ng yon, no? And ito yung mga lugar na yon. Ayan. Kung titignan natin yung globe, ganyan yung itsura nun. And if we're going to look at the names, syempre nandyan ang Philippines. Ayan, sa number 16. So, nandyan yung Philippines sa world's 35 biodiversity hotspots. So, marami na, ibig sabihin, marami ng mga lugar dyan ang talagang nasisira na. Okay, so I think most of the, isa sa mga main reason talaga ito is yung mga tao. No? Ayan. So, dahil sa biodiversity hotspot, marami ng mga hayop ang nagiging endangered. Okay? Na nagdedelikado na din and malapit na sila sa tinatawag natin na extinction. Una, the Philippine crocodile. Okay? So, ayan. Siya yung the Philippine crocodile. Okay? So, the Philippine crocodile grows up about 3 meters long. Its habitat is in the island of Mindoro in Luzon, and there are estimated to be about 100 left. Ayan, 100 left. Kung i-relate natin siya sa school, 2 section na lang ang natitirang ganito. Okay? Kaya kailangan natin siyang alagaan. So, the scientific name of Crocodylus mindorensis and its common name is the Philippine freshwater crocodile. Ayan. Next is the Mindoro bleeding heart. Ayan. Kaya sinabing bleeding heart kasi dito may kulay red siya. Diba? Ay, makikita natin. So, an orange or red patch on its breast that makes it look like a bleeding. Okay. So, it is endemic in the small island of Mindoro pa rin in the Philippines and its numbers went down drastically. That means biglaan and grabe talaga due to deforestation. Ayan. Sa pagkawala ng mga puno, syempre nakawala ng tirahan itong mga ibon na ito. Okay? Next, we have the hawksbill sea turtle. Okay, it can be found in the Philippine Islands but more common in lakes and seas around Bicol, Mindoro, Samar, and syempre, Palawan. And the hawksbill turtle has a mouth which resembles the beak of a bird. Okay, that's why tinawag siyang hawksbill. Kasi yung pinaka-mouth niya ay mukhang beak ng ibon. Okay? It is one of the 5 marine turtles in the Philippines that is considered critically endangered. Its scientific name is Eretmochelis imbricata, locally known as the pawikan. So, yun na lang yung tandaan natin. So, yung name talaga nito is pawikan. Okay. Next is the rufous-headed hornbill. Ayan, para siyang may horn. Ayan, kaya tinawag siyang hornbill. So the hornbill is found in the island of Panay in western Visayas, Philippines, and is said to be one of 2 hornbills that are now critically endangered. So isa or dalawa na lang sila, no? there are major conservation efforts ongoing since hunting and poaching have been major factors in the decline of the hornbills. Its scientific name is Aceros waldeni and also locally known as dulungan. Okay. Next, what this is what we call the red-vented cockatoo. It's a parrot. Okay, it's a type of parrot that is endemic to the Philippines and distinguishable by its red and yellow feathers beneath the tail. Ayan, so dito sa part na to. Okay? So rapid decline in population is due to deforestation and trapping for the cage bird trade. Ayan. So maybe may mga kilala tayong mga tao that they really want na alagaan na lang ito kaysa hayaan ito sa labas para magparami. No? And yun daw yung isa sa mga dahilan ng pagiging endangered nila. Kasi hinuhuli sila para i-trade o ipagpalitan. Okay. So, napag-usapan natin about sa pagiging endangered species. Okay, sa pagkakaroon ng mga endangered species dahil sa pagkasira ng ecosystem or tinatawag natin na biodiversity hotspots. Okay? So napag-usapan natin kung ano pa ibang mga bagay na nakaka-apekto. No? Malaki ang epekto, especially sa tinatawag natin na biodiversity or even sa life, even sa mga tao. This is what we call the carbon cycle. Ayan. Carbon cycle is letter C sa table of elements. Ayan. Carbon cycle describes a process in which carbon atoms continually travel from atmosphere to Earth. Pag sinabi natin carbon cycle, so coming from the word cycle, paano ba umiikot ang carbon? So mamaya malalaman natin kung gaano ba kadami ang carbon sa mundo. Okay? For sure, hindi nyo in-expect ang sagot mamaya. Okay? Since our planet and its atmosphere form a closed environment, the amount of carbon in the system does not change. Okay? Its atmosphere form a closed environment. So meron tayong tinatawag syempre na ozone layer and meron tayong mga chemicals or mga elements that really closed yung ating environment or ating lugar. So that's why yung carbon doesn't change. Okay? So it continues to go the process of a cycle. Okay? So ito, to simply analyze or to simply understand the carbon cycle, ayan. So makikita natin dito that, plant respiration, yung paghinga, okay, ng mga hayop or iba ng mga halaman. Then ganun din yung binibigay mismo ng mga nade-decompose na 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 living things, okay, dito sa earth, it gives off carbon, okay? So of course it mixes the oxygen dun sa atmosphere natin. Ganun din itong mga fossil fuel combustion, ayan. And itong carbon na ito, pag nahalo siya sa oxygen, of course yung bawat molecules nito, it simply goes together with the iba pang molecules ng carbon, ng oxygen, na magkakaroon tayo ng carbon dioxide. Okay? So yung carbon dioxide na ito yung gagamitin, tinatawag natin na photosynthesis by the producers, which is, isa sa mga type ng producers is yung halaman. So sa pamamagitan ng sunlight, okay, magkakaroon sila ng pagkakataon na ma-digest itong carbon dioxide. And the carbon dioxide, of course, ito ay intake ng mga puno, then it will give up oxygen. Then pupunta na naman sa atin, then hihinga tayo ng carbon dioxide. So it will just go on a cycle. Okay. So the key points na kailangan natin tandaan when it comes sa carbon, all living things contain carbon in some form. All things. Okay? When we tell all living things contain carbon in some form. Next, carbon is the primary component of macromolecules, including proteins, lipids, nucleic acids, and carbohydrates. Okay. So itong mga bagay na ito, this is what we call macromolecules. Ano? And meron itong primary components nito is carbon. Carbon's molecular structure allows it to bond. Okay. So sabi natin kanina, di ba? Madali lang talaga mag-bond ang carbon with any other elements, okay, like oxygen. Carbon is the fourth abundant element in the universe and is the building block of the life on Earth. And if it is the fourth, ano kaya yung one, first, second, third? But for sure, nitrogen is isa siya sa top 4 na yun. Ano? So, hindi ko lang alam kung pang ilan siya doon, yung nitrogen. Okay? So, next. Okay. So, when we talk about yung carbon sa atmosphere, okay, there are two forms of carbon. Carbon dioxide and methane. Both of these gases retain heat in atmosphere and are partially responsible for the greenhouse effect. Kagaya ng pinakita natin kanina no, sa greenhouse effect. Okay? So itong carbon na ito, it helps para matuloy yung process, yung tinatawag natin na greenhouse effect. Carbon dioxide is removed from the atmosphere primarily through photosynthesis. Okay? So makita natin kanina, 'di ba, dito sa illustration. Ayan. So yung sunlight, yung photosynthesis, sa pamamagitan nito kinukuha nito yung carbon sa atmosphere. Okay? And it helps tutulong ito para pumasok sa terrestrial bodies or sa ocean biospheres. Okay? Carbon dioxide also dissolves directly from atmosphere into bodies of water, as well as dissolving in the precipitation as raindrops fall through the atmosphere. So kapag umulan din, the carbon could easily mixed with the bodies of water. Okay? Madidissolve siya dito. And kapag umulan, syempre mapupunta ito sa mga dagat. When dissolved in water, carbon dioxide reacts and forms carbonic acid, which contributes to ocean acidity. So ito yung isa sa mga dahilan kaya sobrang maalat yung tubig sa dagat dahil ito sa tinatawag natin na carbon. Kapag nagmix na siya sa sa clouds and bumaba ito sa lupa by means of rainfall, makadagdag ito sa pagiging maalat ng dagat. It can be absorbed by rocks through weathering. Sa pamagitan naman ng weathering, itong alat ng tubig na ito is matatransfer siya sa mga rocks. Okay? Ayan. So, when we talk about terrestrial biosphere, ayan, it is widely known that the terrestrial biosphere is an important factor in mitigating climate change as it absorbs around 20% of all fossil fuel carbon dioxide emissions. Okay? The ocean plays an important part in the carbon cycle. Photosynthesis by tiny marine plants. So meron pa tayong mga marine plants and the same with the other plants. Meron din sila tinatawag na photosynthesis. Okay? And the carbon, it gives food. Okay? It will be served as a food and sunlight together with the sunlight sa mga marine plants natin. For them naman, in the sunlight surface waters, turns the carbon into organic matter. Many organisms use carbon sa ocean to make calcium carbonate, a building material of shells and skeletons. Ayan, yung mga shells na yan, more on gawa yan sa carbon. Okay? So, ganun pala kaganda, no? Ganun pala ka-magical itong carbon na ito. So, it really contributes sa lahat dito sa mundo. Geosphere, okay, carbon enters the geosphere through the biosphere when dead organic matter. So when we talk about geosphere, of course, geosphere is ito yung sa lupa na to, no? Geo. Becomes incorporated into fossil fuels like coal and organic matter, rich oil and gas source rocks. And when shells of calcium carbonate become limestone through the process of sedimentation briefly described above. Okay. So, nakakatulong din itong carbon na ito, especially when may tinatawag tayo na decomposition o pagbulok ng mga namatay na living things and binaon natin sa lupa. No? Yung carbon din, it also contributes sa process na yan. Ayan. So, tapos na tayong pag-usapan itong cycle ng carbon na ito. Okay? So, ngayon pag-usapan naman natin yung tinatawag natin na pollution. Okay? So kung babalikan natin yung mga pinag-aralan natin ng high school, we can easily describe pollution as something, of course, that nagbibigay ng kumbaga nakakasagabal or nakakasakit sa atin. So that is what we call pollution. Okay? So it is also the contamination of something, for example, ng land, ng water, okay? Pollution, okay. Pollution is the introduction of harmful materials into the environment. These harmful materials are called pollutants, okay? Pollution and yung mga mismong materials na nakakasama is what we call pollutants. Pollutants can be natural, such as volcanic ash. Okay, ibig sabihin, walang taong nag-decide niyan or gumawa niyan. It's natural. It's based on natural phenomenon. Okay? So, they can also be created by human activity. So, meron din naman ibang mga pollution na gawa din ng tao. Okay. So, ito yung types of energy. Ayan, pag-usapan muna natin yan. Kasi itong mga types of energy na ito talaga yung tatargetin ng mga pollution. Okay, that is why sobrang nasasaktan tayo, nahihirapan tayo because tinatarget ito sa mga energy natin. For example, mechanical energy, thermal energy or heat energy, nuclear energy, chemical energy, electromagnetic energy, sonic energy, gravitational energy, kinetic energy, potential energy, ionization energy. Ayan. So ngayon, tignan naman natin itong mga energy na ito. Ano ba yung mga meaning nila? Okay. Mechanical energy, of course, it results the movement. Okay? Or what we call, isa pang tawag dito is tinatawag natin ng motion energy. Next, thermal energy is also what we call heat energy. Okay? Nuclear, ayan, about sa in the atomic nuclei or from nuclear reactions. So, ayan yung mga nasa planta na, no? Chemical energy, of course, any solution, any mixture of chemicals, ayan, it can also give energy. Gravitational energy, of course, yung gravity, everything must come down. You know, yun yung purpose ng gravity. Okay, itong energy na ito, it can also give, pollution. Okay? For example, air pollution, water pollution, soil pollution, noise pollution. Okay? So if we have energies, types of energies, we also have types of pollutions. And bawat sa kanila, for example, we have the what we call heat energy, no? And we can also have a heat pollution. Okay? Pero very madalang siya. Okay? So for example here, air pollution. Okay? In some cities, the air is dangerous to breathe. Delikadong inhale. Why? Well, air pollution, of course. Air pollution is when noxious gases and chemicals get suspended in air. Okay? So this is, I think, a part of chemical energy. Ito mga chemical reactions na ito, it gives off hindi magandang mga gases. And it will eventually hurt us. Okay? Think about the smog covering some areas of California and New York, dirt, grime, exhaust fumes, and other aerosols go into the air. Okay? These pollutants can go up in the atmosphere and infect our clouds, creating acid rain. So kung may mga nababalitaan kayo, kung papanoorin nyo sa YouTube, totoo yung tinatawag natin na acid rain. So, ito yung isa sa mga dahilan nun dahil meron mga mixtures or may mga noxious gases and chemicals na humahalo sa hangin and hanggang sa makarating sila sa clouds and magkakaroon ng chemical reaction sa clouds and it will give off acid rain. Okay? Next is water pollution. Ayan. Madalas natin makita yan lalo sa Ilog Pasig. Okay? Na marami ng mga tinatapon na basura. No? Itong water pollution na ito, sometimes, ang nagdudulot nito talaga is tao. Okay? So, malaking percentage talaga na tao ang may gawa. Pero sometimes, may mga natural din. For example, yung soil erosion na pag nagmix na siya sa tubig sa river, di ba? It can, pwede nitong sirain. Yung clear, yung clarity ng tubig. Okay? So no, natural causes of water pollution include algae blooms and volcanoes. However, humans also cause water pollution through trash and waste water from factories. Ayan. So, napag-aralan natin, I think papag-aralan pa natin susunod, na isa yung tinatawag natin na agriculture, anything, yung mga ginagamit natin sa agriculture, it also causes water pollution also, no? Kasi for example, mag-spray ako ng pesticide dyan, no? Sa mga halaman. Then umulan, tapos bumaha. So dinala ngayon ng baha yung pesticide na in-spray ko sa mga halaman. It also causes water pollution. Next is land pollution. And land pollution is another one of the big three pollution types of affecting the human population. Land pollution happens when the soil gets contaminated by fertilizers or chemicals being dumped. Okay? So kapag meron tayong mga certain chemicals, specific chemicals dyan, kailangan natin siyang i-dispose safely. Okay? Huwag lang natin basta ibato doon sa mga lupa because it can contaminate yung land. So alam niyo naman na yung land kapag na-contaminate yan, masira yan. First of all, mawawala yung nutrients yan for the plants. So yun na din susunod doon, masisira na yung mga halaman, yung mga puno, and ayun, yun yung mga maaaring pwede mangyari, no? And the pollution in the land can seep into the groundwater or run into lakes and streams, creating a vicious pollution cycle. Okay, so connected din to sa water pollution. Kasi kapag nga bumaha, kasi dadalhin syempre ng baha lahat ng nasa daan niya, di ba? So, yung soil din, kapag contaminated yan, some of the pollutants dyan na chemicals, sasama din yan doon sa water. Next is radioactive. Okay, when you think of radioactive pollution, you might think of Chernobyl or Fukushima. Okay, so I have watched itong Chernobyl na ito na nag-cause talaga ng massive destruction sa lugar. Okay? Kung saan for so many years wala dapat pumunta sa lugar na yun dahil very dangerous talaga siya. Dito din sa Fukushima. Both of these nuclear power plants used fission of radioactive materials, uranium and plutonium, to create electricity, and both failed. Their failure led to toxic chemicals and radiation being leaked out into the environment, which is radioactive pollution. So, sobrang delikado itong radioactive pollution. No? It can cause death or it can also cause yung irritation ng balat natin or maka-apekto din to sa genes na meron tayo. Kaya pinagbawal talaga doon sa lugar na yon ang mga tao kasi very dangerous talaga ito. So noise pollution yan yung madalas nating marinig, especially ngayong online class. Ano? Sometimes kapag nagkaklase tayo, narinig tayong tilaok ng manok, gano'n, may narinig tayo na tricycle sa labas, especially yung malutong na malutong yung tunog. Ayan. So itong noise pollution na tinatawag. So noise pollution is dangerous because it can cause hearing loss. No? So, meron tayong mga kilala siguro ng mga nabingi dahil for example, nagpaputok, no? Nagpaputok na fireworks then malapit lang sa kanya. So, masisira yung eardrums niya. Then, it can cause hearing loss. Light pollution. Have you ever noticed that in a big city with a lot of lights, it is impossible to see the stars and galaxies? Okay? Na-experience ko to especially kapag, for example, hindi tayo sa Little Vegan, sobrang maliwanag. And sometimes it's very hard para makita yung ilaw o yung ilaw na binibigay ng mga stars. So meron din pala tayong tinatawag na light pollution. Use electric lights to light up the sky is the cause. While lights are great for helping us to see at night, too many lights cause light pollution, blocking out the night sky. So ito pala yung pwedeng maging effect ng sobrang maraming ilaw sa isang lugar. Ano? It can block out yung night sky. Light pollution can also be harmful to animals. For example, the lights of big cities can confuse migrating birds. Okay? Ayan. So, maaring malito yung mga nagmamigrate na mga birds. For example, pupunta sila sa isang lugar na very very warm dapat kasi nanggaling sila for example sa sobrang malamig na lugar dahil may nakita silang sobrang maliwanag na city and mako-confuse sila ngayon and maaari silang bumaba na doon, okay, or malito na sila, then hindi na sila makapunta sa paroroonan nila and it can also cause extinction ng uri ng ibon na yan. Okay, so that's all for today, and I hope may natutunan tayo sa aking mga diniscuss. So alam ko na let's continue to learn. No, and I'm very happy to be given a chance para magturo and may deliver yung lesson na ito. So that's all for today, and I'll see you again next time. So bye for now. Bye. The gorgeous.